Hello everyone, hope everyone doing great. Welcome to Python for Data Science Prasanna Tech channel. Before we begin today's class on loops in Python, I would like to remind you that if you haven't watched my previous videos, please do so before proceeding. Let's get started with today's topic, loops in Python. Loops can execute a block of code number of times until a certain condition is met. Their usage is fairly common in programming. Unlike other programming languages that have for loop, while loop, do while loop, etc. As you can see, here is a table that summarizes the different types of loops available in Python. First one is for loop. This is traditionally used when programmers had a piece of code and wanted to repeat that n number of times. While loop. The loop gets repeated until the specific Boolean condition is met. Nested loop. Programmers can use one loop inside another, that is, they can use for loop inside while or vice versa, or for loop inside for loop or while inside while. Alright, now let's take a closer look at the syntax and an example for the for loop. For loop is used to iterate over element of a sequence. It is often used when you have a piece of code which you want to repeat n number of times. Syntax for the for loop is for iterate variable in sequence statements. Let's take an example. Iterate over a range 0 to n-1. So I'm creating a variable n equals to 4 for I in range 0, n. Now print I. It is going to print 0, 1, 2, 3 as you can see here. For I in Prasanna Tech channel, print current letter is I. For loop to iterate lists, tuples, strings and dictionaries in Python. Iterate over a list. A for loop iterating over a list executes a block of code for each element in the list, where the current element is assigned to a variable on each iteration. Let's take an example. Fruits equals to inside square bracket, inside double quote, apple, banana, cherry. For fruit in fruits, print fruit. Iterating over a tuple. Iterating over a tuple is very similar to iterating over a list. The only difference is that tuples are immutable, meaning that their contents cannot be modified once they are created. Example, create a variable colors equals to inside round brackets red, green, blue. For color in colors, print color. Iterating over a string. The process of iterating over a string is essentially the same as iterating over a list or tuple. The for loop iterates over each character in the string, assigning each character to a variable on each iteration. Since strings are immutable in Python, the contents of the string cannot be modified during the iteration. Now let's take an example. Word equals to Prasanna. For letter in word, print letter. Iterating over dictionary. Iterating over a dictionary in Python means to loop through all the key value pairs in the dictionary and perform some operations on them. We can achieve this using a for loop in Python. Let's create a variable, my dictionary, which is equals to inside curly brackets, apple, 1, banana, 2, orange, 3. For key, value in my dictionary dot items, print key value. In this example, we first define a dictionary named mydict with 3 key value pairs. Then we use a for loop to iterate over each key value pair in the dictionary. The items method is used to get both the key and value of each item in the dictionary. Now, if you want to print only key, then you have to use key method. If you want to print only value, then you have to use values method, as you can see here. Iterating over a set. In Python, a set is an unordered collection of unique elements. To iterate over a set using a for loop, you can simply use the for loop and iterate over the set directly. Let's take an example. Create a set of numbers. Numbers equals to curly bracket 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. For number I in numbers, print I. Iterating by the index of sequences. In Python, you can iterate over a sequence using its index. To do so, you can use the range function to create a sequence of index that correspond to the index of the element in the sequence. Let's take an example. Colors equals to inside square brackets red, green, blue. For I in range len colors, that is length of that list. Print color at index I is color I. Using else statement with for loop in Python. In Python, the else statement can be used with a for loop to specify a block of code that should be executed after the loop has finished iterating over all its elements. The else block is executed if the loop completes all its iterations without encountering a break statement. Here is an example of using the else statement with a for loop in Python. Create a program to check if a number is prime. Now let's create a variable num equals to 17 for I in range 2, num. If num percentile I equals to 0, print num is not prime. Break, else print num is prime. Now let's discuss about while loop in Python. While loop is used to repeat a block of code instead of running the code block once. It executes the code block multiple times until a certain condition is met. Syntax, while expression, statements. You can see the while loop flow chart here. Example of Python while loop. Now let's take an example. Print the first 10 positive integers. Now let's create a variable I equals to 1 while I less than or equals to 10 print I. So I'm always incrementing that by 1. That is I plus equals to 1. Let's run the code and the result is it is going to print from 1 to 10. Let's take an example of password check. Create a variable password equals to input. So here we are taking the data from the user. Input, enter the password. While password not equals to 1, 2, 3, 4, password equals to input, invalid input, please try again. Print password is correct. Now when we run this code, if the password entered by the user is not 1, 2, 3, 4, the program will display a message saying invalid input, please try again, and will ask the user to enter the password again. This process will continue until the correct password is entered, at which point the program will display a message saying password is correct. Now let's take the same example. If the password entered by the user is incorrect, the program will ask the user to enter the password again. If the user enters an incorrect password 3 times, the program will terminate with an error message. So here I'm using import SYS. Import SYS is a Python statement that allows you to import the SYS module, which provides access to system specific parameters and functions. You can use the functions and parameters provided by the SYS module to perform various tasks such as terminating a program, manipulating command line arguments, and getting information about the Python interpreter. Now let's take an example. Import SYS password equals to input, enter the password. Attempt equals to 1 while password not equals to 1 2 3 4 colon. If attempt greater than or equals to 3, SYS dot exit too many invalid attempts. It is going to throw an error. Password equals to input invalid input. Please try again. Attempt plus equals to 1. Print password is correct. Now when I run the code, it is going to ask enter the password. If I enter the wrong password for 3 times, then it is going to throw an error, that is too many invalid attempts. Now let's take an example of while loop with else statement. Find the sum of all positive integers less than or equals to 10. So now let's create a variable I equals to 1, total equals to 0, while I less than or equals to 10, total plus equals to I plus equals to 1. Else print the sum of all positive integers less than or equals to 10 is total. Now let's run the code. Answer is the sum of all positive integers less than or equals to 10 is 55. An infinite while loop in Python is created using the condition while true, which will always evaluate to true, causing the loop to execute indefinitely until a break statement is encountered to terminate the loop. Now let's take an example. While true, user input equals to input, enter a command. If user input equals to quit, break, else print executed command user input. Now it is going to ask enter a command. If I type quit, it is going to terminate the loop. Nested loops. Python programming language allows to use one loop inside another loop. Following section shows few examples to illustrate the concept. You can see the syntax for nested for loop and nested while loop here. Now let's take an example. For I in range 1, 4, for j in range 1, 4, print f double quotes I into j equals to I times j. The f before the string is required to indicate that this is an f string, and that expressions inside the curly braces should be evaluated and formatted into the string. Now it is going to print 1 times table, 2 times table, 3 times table for 3 times. Loop control statements change execution from their normal sequence. As you can see the table here, the control statements are break statement, continue statement, and pass statement. Break statement. It is used to exit a while loop or a for loop. It terminates the looping and transfer execution to the statement next to the loop. Continue statement. It causes the looping to skip the rest part of its body and start retesting its condition. Pass statement. It is used in Python to when a statement is required syntactically and the programmer does not want to execute any code block or command. Now let's discuss about break statement with an example. The break statement in Python brings control out of the loop, right? So syntax is break, create a variable, count equals to 0 while count less than or equals to 100, print count. Now I'm incrementing the count, that is count plus equals to 1. If count greater than or equals to 3, break. So whenever it met that condition, that is count greater than 3, it will break the loop. So the result is 0, 1, 2. The continuous statement in Python returns the control to the beginning of the loop. Syntax continue. Let's take an example. For x in range 10, check whether x is even. If x percentile 2 equals to 0, continue, print x. Now the result is 13579. Pass statement. We use pass statement in Python to write empty loops. Pass is also used for empty control statements, functions and classes. Syntax pass. Now let's take an example. For I in Prasanna Tech channel, if I equals to h, pass. So print pass block, print current letter is I. Now the result is, before every h, it is going to print pass block. So let's quickly revise the concepts whatever we have learned in this session. In this session we have learned loops in Python, for loop, while loop, nested loop and loop control statements. So I hope you like this video. Please like, share and subscribe to my channel.